Hey TCS viewers, it's Chris Niccolls here again from the camera store, coming to you from Jordan's house. And today we're going to be talking about log files on video cameras. S-Log, V-Log, C-Log, RA-Log if you have a wealthy enough producer backing you. And I know you at home, you're like, oh, but we always love you guys for your gear reviews. We want to see stuff, But you know, Jordan and I are not just gorgeous part-time male models. And once in a while, we like to throw out some educational tidbits, and we get asked a lot, what do log files do for us? You know, why do I want a video camera with a log file? What's it gonna do? So stay tuned. All right, so let's just take a look at what a log file looks like on a camera. Right now, you're looking at the unrendered, ungraded log file, and you'll notice it's quite flat. Contrast is low, saturation is low, and now as we grade the image, you can see here, yeah, we're getting that look. We're getting the final look that we want, the drama, the color, the punch. So let's illustrate what's really going on here when we do this. So we're in Lightroom now, and we've got a raw file. We're actually gonna go backwards, okay? We're gonna drop the contrast here. Now we're gonna start bringing back the saturation, and what we're doing is showing you this file, which I know doesn't look very exciting, but gives us the potential. It's all about having that potential to make the moves that we want to get the look that we want. Now, Jordan, of course, does all the editing because frankly, I never offer to, so he's always stuck with that. So let's go to Jordan next because he's gonna delve into this deeper and start teaching you guys the importance, how we do this, what we can get out of it, and why.
Hey guys, it's Jordan, and one of the first things I hear all the time is people asking, well, when is the right time to shoot log? Because it does definitely make things quite a bit more time consuming. And there's a few. First of all, if you're shooting a very high contrast scene, a lot of dynamic range in the shot, you're probably going to want access to every bit of information that you can. That's a great time to shoot log, like this landscape shot here. Tons of highlight, tons of shadow information. We want it all. Log's also really useful if we don't know how the finished product is going to look at the end of the day. If you want to give the editor or the director some options, and you can shoot in log afterwards, they could edit it into a high key scene, a low key scene, really push the color in one direction or the other for a more cinematic effect. Just gives you as many options as possible. Same reason we shoot raw when we're shooting stills. Now that log's becoming available on a lot more consumer cameras, it all started with the A7S, but now we're seeing it on some really compact like the RX104, the GH4 now has it. I'm hearing all the time the log files are too noisy. And I think that's really a misunderstanding of what log is actually doing. Now remember, we mentioned in that earlier example that a log file is bringing the shadows up so that there's as much information there as possible. And anyone with a Canon DSLR knows if you push those shadows up, the image starts to get much noisier. So what log is really doing is it's giving you access to the deepest shadows. If you don't need that information, you can always crush those blacks back down like we're doing here. A lot less noise in the image. But if you need that information, it's great that it's there. Now what this does mean is, yeah, you're going to want to shoot a little to the right, and a lot of cameras' metering systems don't take this into account. So I generally shoot a stop and a half to even 2.5 stops overexposed when I'm shooting log. As long as I'm not completely clipping important highlights, that means we're going to be able to bring all those shadows back down. They'll be nice and clean. My midtones are fine. So shooting this image here you can see the properly exposed image actually looks a little bit overexposed. But if we try and recover this underexposed image, now remember, everything's in the histogram here. We have all the information, but the final image is very noisy. So if you're shooting log, you want to shoot to the right. All right, so we're ready to actually grade some log files. Now, right now I'm working on Final Cut X, so I'm going to do it a couple of different ways. For you Premiere users, anyone else using a three-way wheel, we'll get to you shortly. But first I'll show you how to do it with the basic color correction tools in Final Cut. And as we've already explained, we've brought the contrast down with these, so we need to add some. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my shadows down so that anything that's black is sitting right around the 0% mark on my waveforms that you can see right here. Okay, now we're going to bring our highlights up, and we do have some stuff that should be perfectly white in this, so we're going to bring it right over it so it doesn't look blown out, but so those bright spots look nice and bright. Okay, we're going to bring the saturation up, and we're going to have to crank this pretty heavily, much more than I would with a regular file, and you can see things are actually starting to come to life there a little bit. Now what we can do, because we have all that extra information in the log file, is we can choose with the midtones and our independent color adjustments what we actually want the image to look like. And there you go, you're well on your way to a workable file right now. Now, of course, you can get a lot more creative on top of this, but this is how to get those log files into a usable space. So that's using Final Cut X's built-in functions, but I know a lot of people aren't using that, so I'm going to use something a little more commonly used. I'm going to use Color Finale here, and that gives us options to use three-way color correctors, curves, more commonly used tools. This will be more similar to what you get in Premiere's Lumetri. All right, so let's pop this in, and we're going to take a look at a shot now with some skin tones in it. Generally, when I'm adjusting a shot, skin tones are what I'm focusing on most. That's my first priority. So we're going to do the exact same thing we did in Final Cut. It's the same process. There's just a couple different ways to do it. To start with, we'll do it with the three-way color corrector. So I'm going to bring down my shadows, or my lift, to the point where the blacks are right where I'd want them to be. Bring my highlights up until the white parts are actually white. And now I'm going to crank in quite a bit of saturation. Boom, next to no time, and there we go. We're looking at actually a pretty nice image there that we can get started working on. Let's take a look at it a different way. I'm going to bring it in some curves now. And I'm just going to apply a basic S curve for contrast. That's nice there. And bring in some saturation. And again, there we are. We've got a great starting point now. So we're doing the same thing, but three different ways. And as long as you follow that, that's the steps you initially need to do to get started with a grade. So looking at this, you've probably noticed that I'm doing the same thing over and over. And yeah, generally I'm applying contrast, adding saturation in different degrees. So you can save yourself a lot of time by dropping some LUTs on. Now these are going to emulate various styles or particular film types, but they're extremely useful. A lot of the time when I'm setting an episode, I'll drop a few on to kind of get the look that I'm going for and then build everything off that. There's quite a few I really like. Of course, Speedlooks we use frequently. That's what I'm going to use here. And all we do, choose the camera type that we're working with, log. We're going to bring it into what they call 709, so your standard video profile. It'll work on any display. And boom, we already have a great starting point with that. I do think it's really useful to try working with log from scratch just to get to know your camera, how it's going to respond best. But when you're in a time crunch, LUTs are extremely useful, and generally they're quite affordable. I would also recommend taking a look at Film Convert if you're looking for something with a little more of a gritty, grainier texture. And there's a ton of options out there. But hopefully you've been able to get something out of this. You'll be able to start playing with log a little bit. It'll be a little bit less daunting. And if you guys like this educational kind of episode, let us know. All the stuff we do, we gauge the success on how many views it gets. So pass it on, throw it on some blogs. And if we see some good traffic on it, we'll do more episodes like this.
All right, so a little bit of education there for you, but hopefully you found it useful. It's always nice to see what's going on behind the curtain, you know, in the background with video production. There's so much work there. So just to summarize, keep in mind a few things. So first off, when you shoot your basic default camera profiles in camera, you can get a punchy look and a specific kind of feel, but you don't have the room afterwards to really play with it and change it. So start using those log files. I know they look flat right off the bat, everything looks terrible, but it gives you the room to push and pull and stretch and really finalize your vision after in post. Also remember that your histogram is not created equal from left to right. Get that stuff pushed to the right, just like in still photography. You get more detail towards the highlights. You can always bring your shadows back down to where you want them to end up, and you're going to get less noise that way and better results. Also, it's great that Jordan talked about LUTs in the computer. That's a really powerful way to use log files and get an idea of where you can go with the look of the file. But also keep in mind that a lot of cameras support LUTs in camera or on the monitor, and this is a great way to be shooting that flat profile but not have to look at it in that flat gray look. It lets us see an idea into the future of what our video could possibly look like, and that can be really nice when you have an idea in your head but you still want to keep the room to move afterwards. Alright, so if you like this video, you know, a bit of education, you like the style of it and you want to see more of it, let us know in the comments below. Check out our Instagram as well, check us out on Twitter, subscribe, show us that you love us because we love you, and we'll see you guys very soon.